Hello to all. Good morning. We are in the technical workshop on fuel management, best practices and smart solutions for wildfire risk mitigation. You are welcome. We are starting it, and this is on the framework of Prevail project and funded by European Union Civil Protection and Human Aid. I'm Laia Estivill. I work in the Forest Science and Technology Center of Catalonia, and I will moderate this technical workshop the best as I can. So welcome to you all. Just some reminders before beginning to these speeches and this workshop. As you can see now in the screen, please remember that participants' audio and video will be automatically disabled to save bandwidth. If you could do it before, perfect. You have two options to talk in this or to participate. One is question and answers using the question and answers app that you will have ready to use. This tool will be used to put the questions, but not the answers. The answers will be answered not by responding here, but by responding by each speaker, sorry. And notice that we will record all the sessions, so keep on mind this. And without more, sorry, I will stop sharing. We will begin with an opening and greetings from Anna Barbati, who is the Prevail project coordinator. Good morning, Anna.
Good morning.
She is from the University of Tuxia, sorry. We are not going to spend so much time presenting each of the speakers. So I know that some of you know each other and the rest of people here could ask in case, but if you would like to say something, this is perfect also for us. So without more delay, please, Anna, the floor is yours. So if you want to do the opening and greetings, it would be perfect.
Thank you very much. So thank you to you all that are here spending some time with us. It's not granted. Hope that this workshop will be rewarding for you. Who we are, this is a photo before the COVID era of the Prevail Project Partnership. We are researcher and expert from 5 Mediterranean countries, and we cooperated together in this 2-year project funded by the European Union Civil Protection Mechanism on the topic of fire prevention. And we will see how we have approached this topic. As you can see, we speak 5 languages that help much in what we will present today, the smart solution concept, to discover the smart solution across Europe. And let me spend a few words about the moving idea of our project. The project has the, say, ambition to demonstrate how practically landscape scale fire prevention can make the suppression, especially of a large fire, more effective and less costly. And this approach has been in some way also adopted recently by the European Commission in this report, which emphasized the role of land-based fire prevention practices to translate the landscape into more fire-resistant and fire-resilient landscape, to protect better communities in this age of increasing extreme fire regimes. But the point is how. So we started from this consideration of how we can implement a landscape level strategy to make landscape more fire resistant and fire resilient, because we all know that when it comes to the landscape, we need to face a complexity of issues, and we explored these bottlenecks by interacting with the stakeholders during our project. Stakeholder in charge of rural development fund, in charge of fuel management activities at different territorial level, from local to regional. And for sure, there is a complexity of land governance that needs to be taken into account, because we know that we have in Europe, in different regions of Europe, a different shade of private and public lands, fragmentation in the ownership. Sometimes landowners are unknown. We have public funding, mainly through rural development programs, which explicitly consider measure of active prevention, but maybe the design of this funding does not catch the full potential of direct and indirect prevention. We will talk about active and passive prevention today. So maybe there are possibilities to improve the way funds are allocated in a more integrated way. Finally, we have also some barriers due to regulation, national, regional regulation, for instance, concerning prescribed burning, or cultural barriers that we, some misconceptions about conflict between fuel management and nature conservation. So in this complex world, we experience a lack of economic sustainability, so to reach a critical mass of landscape scale fuel management. And this is the main problem that needs to be addressed. So what we have done is try to be like detective across Europe to find what are the grassroots initiatives that demonstrate new possibility of integrating fuel management in a wider framework in which synergies can be created with new ways of create local bioeconomy chains, new alliances between fuel management and nature conservation, which means that different actors need to cooperate together. And this is what we found, like a sort of creative environment that is already on the field. And our goal was to understand to what extent, what are the criteria of smart solution, how can we build stable processes to keep this fuel management connected with other activities and as a permanent activity over time. And we focused our attention on 3 dimensions, which are sustainability, cost efficiency, and synergies and cooperation. So today we have the opportunity to learn from the actors of some of the solutions we found, what local synergies they have built. And so we have an opportunity to understand what makes a solution smart, but also because we know there are barrier problems, so we will learn from the experience what are the barriers that need to be overcome, and also the opportunities. So my hope is that, and the hope of all the project, of course, is that this smart solution can be a sort of torchbearer initiatives, inspiring for actors which work in the field, but inspiring also to build a more integrated territorial governance, because we need to strengthen also this dimension in integrated fire management, meaning to create a more cross-sectoral, multi-level and multi-actor way to do the governance. So that was my last consideration. I wish that you will enjoy the workshop. And so I leave the floor to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna, for your introduction and your opening. As we can see, this workshop will be the occasion to go from the theory to the practice, and this is an important point. So we can go directly to the next speeches. The next one is from Eduard Plana and Marta Serra from here, Forest Science and Technology Center of Catalonia, and will be about an introduction to the fuel management smart solution concept in more detail. And it plans it shows the question that how can we protect better our landscape and mitigate wildfire risk in a cost-efficient and circular way. So Eduard, when you are ready, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Laia. Thank you very much. Also, first, Anna, as a coordinator of the project, for giving us, as a Forest Science and Technology Center of Catalonia, to participate in this important project. And of course, thanks to all the participants that are here today with us, and also especially thanks to all the promoters, or let's say practitioners or end users, or just people who is in charge of implementing these smart solutions on the landscape that are today with us to share their experience. Is fully well known for most of us, for sure, that dealing with wildfires, we have, in fact, a unique opportunity and different from other natural hazards, like, let's say, avalanches or floods, even storms, that it's very difficult to influence the, let's say, the intensity of the wind or the intensity of the rainfall or the snowfall. But in the case of wildfires, fuels are one of the main drivers of the hazard. In fact, according how these fuels are distributed on the landscape, we have very different behaviors of fire. And there is this typical sentence that makes a good summary in case, for instance, of the prescribed fire, that these pictures are from our Catalan Fire and Rescue Service, that they have introduced, of course, the prescribed fire. And this is the typical sentence of the good fire can prevent bad fire. But in any case, we have a big change, reducing risk or mitigating risk, basically working with trying to reduce the hazard. And so we have a good change thanks to the fuel management to reduce the hazard. Of course, later on, we can work on the exposure and the vulnerability, etc. Probably this is a way to summarize the main challenges we face in case of wildfire risk in the Mediterranean. Of course, climate change is also extending the situation in Central and North Europe. But this could be a kind of triangle of where we have this potential of ignitions, normally human case caused because of human factors. Of course, there are natural ignitions. There is a kind of technological limit to the suppression. This is, I mean, normally the emergency service are saying us that they cannot face anymore so big and intense, severe and fast fires. And well, we see this huge event in Europe, like in 2017 in Portugal, for instance. So these are unprecedented situations due to climate change, due to this fuel amounts in the landscape, etc. So and there is, of course, this fire spread capacity of the landscape is very related to the fuels. of course, managing wildfire risk, we have to work in hazard, in vulnerability, in exposure. There is a lot of measures in different phases of the disaster risk management cycle. We in this project try to make a more summary on that, and we say that, well, basically most of policies are related to what we call active prevention, that the typical fuel breaks, preparedness and response, so helicopters and all the needs that we have in terms of coping capacity and response. But there is this kind of underlying role related to wildfire risk, this linked to the passive prevention, which is directly linked to all these activities on the territory that are doing fuel management, having fires on mind or not, but just are there. What Anna mentioned before was very relevant, because with this project, we have the opportunity to emphasize the importance of this passive prevention in terms of wildfire risk reduction. Since these resilience landscapes, in fact, makes active prevention less costly, less necessary, and of course makes the civil protection and the response more efficient and safety. This is the aim of this. Basically, this project is, as was mentioned, just to identify these fuel management actions on the landscape that are helping to achieve this more resilience in front of fire risk. From this screen, also you can see nice collaboration we had here in Spain with WWF. So environmentalists and NGOs are very important and helping us also to inform society. In this case, was about the good fire, to prevent bad fire. But we don't have to forget that this project is under the DG ECO, the Civil Protection General Directorate of European Commission call. So there is a big import. That is very relevant to move in sense of how this resilient landscape can also provide protection to urban interface, to activities on the land, economic activities. So it's very important also for in the Mediterranean, the touristic areas, etc. So there is more and more, European Commission is more and more aware about the importance of providing landscapes that can protect us instead of be a hazard. This is reflected, I'm not going to stop here too much, but basically this is very reflected in so many initiatives that are running now in parallel, quite well aligned. So they are quite, coherence between them. Of course, we have the Agenda 2030, the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, who is asking for integrated and inclusive risk reduction approaches. But it's very interesting what is started in the strategy on adaptation to climate change, asking for nature-based solutions, reducing climate-related risk, biodiversity strategy, forestry strategy, bioeconomy strategy, etc. And of course, under the big umbrella of the European Green Deal. So I think that for those who are working in wildfire for so many time, I think that maybe it's the best moment in terms of policies that are approaching the issue in the proper way. Within our Prevail project, we need to, in some way, make some definition in what we understand for smart solutions. And well, we decide this is a summary of the definition, but we decide to understand as smart that practical measures and initiatives implemented in a sustainable manner, of course, enhancing cost efficiency, trying to optimize the synergies with the actors, and also the cooperation in a multi-objective perspective, so providing economy, but also doing fire reduction and risk reduction, and able to utilize the best existing knowledge and being updated under the lessons learned approach. With this picture, we try to summarize this, let's say, multi-dimension of smart solutions. So basically, there are three main important issues doing wildfire strategic prevention, we also have to be aware about doing biodiversity conservation. We can, in parallel, promote rural development. We know that, and we will have in our presentation some examples of doing prescribed burning also as a training for fire brigades. Well, just providing agri-food products, providing bioeconomy related to the forest products, livestock products. So, and of course, ecosystem service provision. Is all these components are behind this smart approach about how to undertake, how to implement this wildfire risk, integrated wildfire risk management strategies. So during the project, we make, as Anna mentioned before, a survey of just trying to identify examples. Of course, this is not, means this don't try to cover all the relevant initiatives that are running in Europe. Of course, we just choose some ones from, in this case, Portugal, Spain, Catalonia, and Italy, just to reflect these different options in terms of well management. And also because, well, we prepare a template, we just collect the information, and you can see also how we organize them in terms of risk management cycle. So we make this, we distinguish between the active prevention from the passive prevention, and within passive prevention, we look for initiative related to forest production, initiative related to maintaining the mosaic landscape, etc. And of course, initiative related to preparedness response and recovery. Yeah, sorry. Later on with this call, with selection, we have the opportunity also in collaboration with Pau Costa Foundation. We prepare a web model who is hosted in the Lessons on Fire website that is managed by Pau Costa Foundation. I'm very happy to present this because this Lessons on Fire website that probably most of you or some of you are users of it, was financed by a previous DG Eco project, Fire Efficient, in 2014, and also has been supported by other DG Eco projects coordinated by us. And so we decided, and we make this collaboration with the Pau Costa Foundation to host this, to this kind of map of landscape solutions to wildfire, where you can, I mean, this is the link, you can move inside, you can find them, you can click on the label, and there is information about the initiative, etc. So this is an opportunity also to give visibility to those who are contributing by their activity to the wildfire reduction. And also, if you are a user of the platform, there is the opportunity to create your solution, let's say, and I mean, this is very interactive. So it's not only just from the collection from outside. So everyone who feel that he's doing things related to the aim of this website can also introduce and describe their own activity. We also include in the project, as Anna mentioned before, the a gap analysis. So I mean, one of, as Laia said on the beginning, one of the main objectives of this project is to have the opportunity to discuss with those who are, let's say, assuming all the responsibilities in implementing these fuel management options, to discuss with them how make things happen. So that was the question before, Anna, from your side about how to do it. We know that there are some barriers. We know that there are some difficulties. Of course, as I said before, we have a nice policy frame now that is also offering new opportunities. So we carry out this gap analysis through interviews. Well, this is just basically a summary of some key aspects, not are all there, but In any case, I will mention very short some of them as a way also to introduce the selection of cases that we have today with us, and also to motivate the discussion later. But it's quite common when we talk with end users and practitioners, etc. They realize that they have a very huge needs in terms of managing risk and how to do it, and normally with very limited resources, normally related to budget limitations. And related also to the typically lack of forest profitability in the Mediterranean area, sometimes because of bureaucracy in rural development measures, or sometimes legal constraints in how to involve or how to engage forest owners in conducting, in carrying out the fire prevention activities. There are some gaps still in terms of policy coherence or harmonization, especially that in that field related to urban planning and spatial planning. So still is not fully connected, the urban development and the fire risk, as for instance, it is already done with floods risk, for instance. On that sense, normally legally, there is not a fully recognition about this function of prevention. So this is normally coming from the public service, but there is not a way to connect how those who are providing this, we could say it, environmental service of regulation of risk reduction, those providers of this environmental service, to the beneficiaries of these environmental services. There are normally no tools, no even legal ways to connect them, and what is more important, as a way of naval funding mechanisms. So how to connect better, for instance, those important activities on the land, economic sectors like tourism, or of course the network of protected natural parks, which are, you know, very aware about being protected from the fire, etc. So how connect better those activities who are giving protection to these values and activities with the maintenance of these fuel management activities. We have nice challenges with this increasing social awareness about fires. And you will see today's nice experience in, for instance, involving consumers and restaurants in those who are providing these products and doing fire prevention. And well, this is also has been started in some interviews that sometimes there are some conflicts perceived between these fuel management actions with biodiversity conservation. So this means that more communication is needed, of course, and we need to explain us better, probably, in many cases. But we also have nice experience today, how is connected this fuel management with, as I said before, the protection of natural parks. So this link between biodiversity and risk reduction normally works very well. Well, so this is almost practically all from our side. So thank you very much. And I leave the floor to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Eduard, for your presentation. It's been really useful to have this first settling of concepts and the framework that will guide all the workshops. So thank you very much to settle that. We now begin the different sessions of the workshop. We will have 3 sessions, as you can see in the program, probably that you have on hand. This first session is about active prevention. We will try to talk about integrating fuel management into strategic wildfire suppression planning. And to do that and to give one example of that, we have here today Luca Tonarelli from DREAM. Hello, Luca. That will present us about firefighting training center of the Tuscany region. So without more delay, please, Luca, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I will share my screen. Can you see it? Good morning to everybody. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you for Prevail project, because it involved us in two very interesting workshops, one in Florence and one a 3-day workshop in the training center with many Italian regions about fuel management, about smart solution. Thank you especially to Davide Ascoli and Anna Barbati. I am the technical director of the Forest Fire Tuscany region training center. It's just in the middle of our region, and I will speak about the prevention plan mixed with our courses. This is our activity. I like to underline especially the last words, because we had about 100 days each year of practical training, and this is important for our smart solution. After the 2012 hot summer, we started to implement our training program with the use of fire and prevention in general. For the use of fire, I have to thank also Pau Costa Foundation that trained us in the first part. We were in the middle of 7,000 hectares of Pinus pinaster forest in a very dangerous place for forest fire. And we had around the training center an old fire break system realized 30, 40 years ago with obviously another fuel model. Some picture to see this fire break system. And we start to make some practice of prescribed burn, but in the first part of the project, working on single project of prescribed burn was really hard and slow, and so we thought about a plan of prescribed burn, a plan that could allow the forest firefighters to work on forest management integrated into the planning of the territory, and take into account the local obligations about natural area, area of Natura 2000, with the aim of fire prevention in a landscape scale. We started this program in 2015, and we transformed the old fire break system into a new one with different sides. The plan focused on a series of adaptation of fire breaks, changing in sides, some of them, and abandoning others. Through these tools, we have carried out about 50 hectares of prescribed burn as a practical exercise, including in the training program with also other courses about prepare the areas, courses with the use of dozers, of hammers, chainsaw, and also with hand tools. So many courses contribute to this project to arrive to have prevention for free. We won also a Smart Forest Award from CISEF for that job. We transformed many fire breaks. This is in the 2015 and in the 2016 with the mechanization works and with the prescribed burn. This is our some example of work meeting with the two clean lines with the forestry hammers to enlarge the fire breaks, and this is the vertical profile of most of them. Some pictures of the 4 years work in training with many of Tuscany firefighters. And this is an example also to the maintenance after 4 years of the first job in the first part. With this program, we have trained 30 prescribed burn planners, 10 prescribed fire managers, 60 drip torch operators, and after this first part, 3 years first part of training, we trained also disappeared analysts and GAUF people for fighting with the use of fire. So we passed 4 years activity, in which first of it we only planned exercise in limited area, and we changed this way of working into useful and necessary work to realize the works in the plan. And in 2019, we changed the old plan that was near to his finish into a new plan that with other kind of work, not only fire breaks, but also other kind of fuel management. For example, we start to manage strategic points with silvicultural prevention. We start to work in a interface area. This is a photo of the work around the training center area for prevention. Also inserted in the new prevention plan. This is some works with prescribed burn and some mechanization work around the training center. And we have planned with a lot of practical course, silvicultural prevention, shrub cutting, thinning, and interface strips, opened area, grazing area, with like this with the prescribed burn, and also many practical part of the courses to prepare that prescribed burn area. Our next objective is the creation of a small biomass power plant to make, because now we are on GPL, and to make the training center energy independent, and use the wood resulting from the planned forest fire prevention work as a fuel. And this is other job in the plan. Thank you for the attention.
Thank you, Luca, for your presentation and for adjusting your presentation to the time. Thank you very much. It would be really nice to, after debate a little bit about it. There is one question in the question and answers that it's about if we will share presentations. I would like to say that we will try to share all the presentations from today on the website. And remember to all the participants that you can continue doing or asking questions in the question and answer. So with no more delay, we can now listen to the next presentation that will be presented for Bárbara Ortuño, who is the mayor of Albrook, and David Sáez from Catalunya La Pedrera Foundation. We are aware that David Sáez will need to go before the end of the event, so take advantage of the question and answers again. And if you would like to question things, please use this tool. They will present another active prevention smart solution, and their presentation is about reinforcing synergies between strategic wildfire risk planning, rural development, and nature conservation at local level. So it's an example of from theory to practice directly example. So thank you very much to be here, and please, David, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Laia. I will go and share my screen just to make sure that you all see it.
Yes.
Perfect.
Well, just a second. So, well, thanks a lot for this opportunity of participating today in this event. I would like to tell you about a concrete case study that we've been working on for some years in the area of Montserrat, which is a Mediterranean mountain landscape close to Barcelona, for those of you who just don't know the place. And as we've been seeing in the Mediterranean, we do have a problem right now with our landscape and concretely with our forests. In fact, the increase of forest continuity, mostly associated to the abandonment of agricultural practices and other land use changes, has led to these forest structures with high density of trees that limits growth and limits the biodiversity of the forest itself, and that is prone to be affected by extreme forest fires, especially in the present climate change context. So this is a common issue in the northern shore of the Mediterranean, and the main idea here is that these Mediterranean forests do need proper active management, since fire prevention, biodiversity, climate change adaptation, but also landscape protection and economic activity related to high quality nature and landscape depend, in fact, directly depend on that management. So in response to this need of management, there's this Life Montserrat project that took place from 2014 to 2019, and that it has been an instrument to implement effective management solutions in order to meet these twin objectives of improving fire prevention and landscape and biodiversity conservation. And how we do that? In this case, by creating green infrastructures through forest restoration, recovery of open areas, and implementation of grazing activity, which at the end means boosting rural activities and all their associated socioeconomic development, such as jobs, opportunities for young people, ecotourism activities, finally ways to help people remaining in rural areas. One important idea that I would like to highlight about that is that the actions of the project were not evenly distributed through the project area, but they have been focused on key strategic areas to prevent forest fires. These strategic areas have been identified by specialists within the Catalan Fire Department with people with strong expertise in fire behavior, and considering information on climate, topography, vegetation, previous fires, and so on, they can define these, what they call strategic management points, with the idea that having them properly managed can provide much better conditions to defend a much larger territory from being affected by a forest fire. So in our case, in the Life Montserrat project, we focused on, you can see here in the bottom right side of the slide, these small red areas, which represent less than 10% of the project area. The project area is all the area inside this yellow line. And all the activities were were carried out in these strategic areas with the aim to protect the whole project area. Quickly, after the project, the main expected results were achieved. In fact, well, we can see that Life Montserrat leaves a territory in much better condition than it was at the beginning of the project. And some important results have been achieved in fire prevention, where after the project, well, we have now the low fuel loads in these strategic areas with less biomass accumulation and continuity. So they are better in better condition to respond to a fire. And in fact, we could see an evidence of that during a real fire situation in 2015 in this area. And at the same time, we obtained good results in biodiversity, where all monitoring actions and indicators show higher diversity of species related to these open areas and increase of ecotonic and areas and habitat diversity. And well, we have better forest and landscape resilience and adaptation to climate change with large new areas where forest restoration has been carried out and open areas have been recovered, and better conditions to allow livestock activity with new infrastructures and grazing agreements between farmers and landowners, allowing the deployment of new herds of goats, cows, and donkeys, and also very important engagement of key stakeholders and the support and understanding of the local population, which is absolutely necessary for the long-term results of a project like that. And I like to say that this is in fact the easy part, because the project had the enough resources, both technical and financial, to carry out all these actions that were planned. But here the great challenge for me is the maintenance of this green infrastructure that has been created and the management model in the long term, and after the project, because this is the key step to consolidate a successful experience and what could then be replicated in many other places. So the project has achieved some important results, but there are still many important issues to be solved. And one of them is that at the end of the project, it's a fact that farms and farmers that we've been working on, they are still in a weak position to ensure income consolidation and therefore long-term economic viability. So for me, this is one of the main challenges that we have to face from now on, this economic viability of the small farms. And I just pointed out here some of the reasons that I think that are under this situation of lack of viability. And we for sure need the alignment of agricultural and environmental policies, both at EU and national level, to help this viability, and also for sure the social recognition for these rural activities, leading to more respect, support, and demand for products and willingness to pay for environmental services that finally will make possible this economic viability of the small farms. At the same time, we have to say that there are also good opportunities. I just listed here some of them: this recovery of agricultural farming activity, the provision of high quality products, this well-preserved landscape. They are all assets that have to be taken into account. Finally, after the project, Albruc, which is in a municipality in the epicenter of the Life Montserrat area, is now a nice example of a municipality where key stakeholders, local population, and local government are well aligned to manage this current scenario of opportunities and challenges. So I would say that the Life Montserrat project has laid the groundwork for sustainable landscape management that can effectively bring to social and economic development based on healthy and rich natural environment. So for sure it won't be easy, but the opportunities are there. So with this context situation in mind, now I just pass the floor to Barbara. She's the mayor of Albruc, so that she can explain how they are trying to face their own challenges and take advantage of all these opportunities that we've been talking about. So Barbara, whenever you want.
Thank you, David. Well, good morning to all. Thank you very much for inviting us to this technical workshop on wildfire risk mitigation. Thank you, David, again, for explaining so well what Life Montserrat project was about and the results. It has been a great chance for this territory to have this project implemented, because it has really set the grounds, as David has said, for the future actions. I will talk on behalf of Elbrook municipality and from a very local perspective. I think the main lesson we have learned from the LIFE project is that what enables biodiversity by building a rich and diverse landscape with open spaces and pastures helps to reduce and mitigate wildfire risk in that area. Elbrook, next, please. Elbrook is one of the 14 municipalities of the European Life Montserrat project, and it is situated on the southwest side of the Montserrat mountain. As you can see on the aerial picture, which doesn't include all the municipality, Elbrook is a small town with a population of only 2,200 inhabitants, but with a large piece of land to manage, with more than 80 kilometers of forest trails and some isolated houses on the north area. More than 80% of our municipality is covered by a continuum of pine trees forests. I think it's the Pinus alepensis forests and bushes in a hilly and rough landscape, which is not easy to cultivate. With only 9% of field crops, nowadays, most part of the municipality has private ownership. We are a rural town, very well communicated by road with Barcelona, what makes of our town an attractive spot to live and explains why we have nearly doubled our population in the last decade, with people coming from Barcelona metropolitan region. So we have a rural place with urban citizens. So nowadays we have much land with only a handful of people working on it. And as Eduard has previously said, it is all about huge needs versus limited resources. How do we manage this? Our next one, please. Our municipality has suffered 2 big wildfires in the last 40 years. The last one being in 2015, burned nearly 1,200 hectares, mainly of forest and fields. And as you can see on the map, on the north. In this occasion, the fire was controlled and extinguished by firemen by the road. You can see the road on the north side. And thanks to all the forestry works made on the LIFE project, on the Life Montserrat project directions in the previous year. So it was all thanks to the buffer effect that the forestry works give as a result. With other weather conditions, the firemen said that the same wildfire could have headed south, threatening the houses of the nearest residential area and the natural park itself. No need to say that crop fields abandonment and the lack of proper forest management during decades did and do increase the wildfire risk in this area. Vineyards, where you can see the picture on the left side of on the left-hand side, vineyards were the main field crop in our time by the end of the 19th century. Nowadays, there are only 2 small vineyards fields left in the whole municipality, some scattered cereal fields and olive tree fields at the south feet of the mountain. Next slide, please. I strongly believe that the one of the most important pieces of heritage from the LIFE project itself has been the creation and reinforcement of a strong and empowered social ecosystem, sharing a new common storytelling of this land that now also includes the citizenship, also being aware of the importance of the land management. Thanks to all previous work, we now have many actors working on the field, as David said also. We have, on one side, we have public and private organizations working together to enhance biodiversity, which includes forestry work too. We also have private associations working on the field. For example, I would like to stress that there is a forest owners association with more than 80 members nowadays, implementing forestry works on strategic areas defined by firemen on a yearly basis with public funds. There is also a new association of 16 municipalities that works for rural development in Montserrat region. And also, as a result of Life Montserrat, we also have much scientific data, a bulk of scientific data, which also today is represented here. And firemen feel expertise on what works and what doesn't work in wildfire prevention. Even though it's not a comprehensive list, we are listing here, next slide, please. We are listing here the main goals to achieve from our municipality point of view, and some of the actions are taken up to date. The first and main thing is that we have to keep people working the land. We think that we all agree with this, and this is one of the main lessons, and also David was stressing this. We need that farmers and shepherds work in the land. As David said before, the main challenge here is how to make viable small livestock farms on a smaller scale, mainly non-professional agriculture activities to go on. The smaller scale livestock farms are run mainly by young new shepherds with little previous experience with small herds grazing in low productivity soils for agriculture and pasture. So hearing all this, it doesn't sound easy to settle people in the place and to keep on with the activities. In this sense, we are working on 4 main ideas. So you can see on the actions we are taking. From one side, we are trying to create an income diversification by paying for environmental services. We are also working on gas reduction. We can also help in this point by paying for key common infrastructures like a new cutting room, which will be finished this year, and improving also forest trails, etc. Also, we are working on the establishment of a buying local culture with campaigns and a local farm market development. And also we are working on product quality improvement so they can sell premium products and don't have to compete with price with regular counterparts. This is one of the main actions nowadays we are developing. We have implemented 2 areas of public land, and we are doing payment for environmental services with direct contracting with Go Shepherds. Next slide, please. Also, we are trying that the actual owners of the traditional crop of olive oil, they keep on working on the ground, and the main goal is to increase olive oil price so they can cover the cost. So we are implementing technical consulting to improve olive oil quality. Also with establishment of certificate of origin, we're working on this. And we are promoting agrotourism based on olive tree, landscape, and gastronomy. Next slide, please. And on the buy local side, we are trying to gain this social recognition for rural activities so needed. And we are implementing many campaigns. For example, we created a Replication, which is a Christmas boxes. We have been doing this for 2 years now. We also created a Ruta de la Tapa, which is a kind of activity for this last summer. We made last summer. So the restaurants use local products, and the people were visiting them, like making a route. And also we have been doing oil tasting events and designing and developing. And nowadays, now we are designing and developing a local farm market, which will be implemented next year. I think that that's it all we are making. And also to put a stress on the global strategy, which is making that all the people from our citizenship make aware of the place they live, and also that they are assuming a risk of wildfire, and also that we have to deal with this with buying local products and also managing the land. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to all you three. It has been really interesting to see how ideas are implemented on land, on field. This is always a challenge, and I hope that later we could have the opportunity to discuss a little bit more about it, because it's really worth it to recover all this part. So now we can change to the second part, that it's the session 2 about passive prevention, and that will deal with synergic practices of forest management and wood mobilization as biomass, wood resins, and wildfire risk mitigation. And to do that, we have today here Mr. Carlos Rodriguez Herencia, who is the Councillor of Territory and Ecological Transition of the Vallès Occidental County. And he will talk us about Boscos del Vallès, which is a smart solution about local biomass use for district heating and wildfire prevention. So Carlos, really welcome to be here today, and the floor is yours.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Laia. I will share my screen. Okay, it's working now. Good morning.
Yes.
Thank you to Prevail, CTFC, and Pau Costa Foundation for organizing this workshop and for inviting us. I will start with a description of the initiative. Vallès Forests project takes place in the county of Vallès Occidental, a region including 23 municipalities in Barcelona metropolitan area. And the forests are dominated by Aleppo pine and are mostly private, more than 90% of them. The forest of Vallès Occidental is an undermanaged area that has relatively low productivity and is quite vulnerable to climate change and wildfires. In this context, this project aimed to reactivate forest management and wood mobilization by preferentially acting in those areas where fire risks and is higher and involving most of the stakeholders of the entire wood chain of Vallès Occidental. The project aimed to reinforce the links between forest owners, most of them living very far from the forests, wood dealers, forestry services companies, wood chip manufacturers, equipment installers, and energy providers. The main goal is to reinforce the buying and selling chains for wood chips via the promotion of local consumption of primary forest biomass for heat production for the local community. The project, as you can see here, and the experience have been successful. And nowadays, the regional service of forest biomass owns 2 boilers which supply to Terrassa Hospital and the facilities of the Center of Sport Activities in the Autonomous University of Barcelona with thermal energy. Moreover, 4 city councils of the region, Ullastrell, Vacarisses, Viladecavalls, and recently Terrassa, have also adhered themselves as users of the service for the supply of splinter for their own boilers. Besides, this spring, a private company of the agrarian sector has also adhered them to the service due to their need for thermal energy. It is estimated that the capacity of power production of the logistics center in full performance can reach 6,600 metric tons of splinter. Currently, it is already over 50% of its production capacity. Let's move on now with the difficulties and opportunities that we can identify in this project. In this context, this project aimed to reactivate forest management and wood mobilization by preferentially acting in those areas where the fire risk is higher and involving the stakeholders. The project aimed to reinforce the links between forest owners, as we said before. The initial work led us to identify the following critical barriers to be overcome with the pilot project. First of all, the benefits of wood mobilization do not have an impact throughout the local forest chain, especially for private owners. Secondly, low biomass demand in relation to the potential forest production in the county of Vallès Occidental. And in third case, the promotion of forest biomass in metropolitan areas may conflict with the public policy of maintaining air quality in these environments close to the major conurbations. The project is highly innovative because it includes criteria for traceability and control of wood chip quality. And it also anticipates the application of European regulations on the reduction of emissions of boilers in order to make their installation compatible with areas close to peri-urban forests with a greater risk of pollution. This anticipatory aspect may have bothered part of the industry, which considers these new requirements to be detrimental to its profit margin. And to sum up, until now, the most significant challenges as a result of the project are the availability of 3 new facilities, these 2 big boilers and the logistics center to mobilize wood in the region located in municipalities not recommended in principle by the Department of Environmental Policies, the increase in owners associations. 2 associations of forest owners and 1 cooperative have been established. The improvement in technical knowledge about forest biomass and its potential for exploitation, and also about the effects on the reduction of fire risks. Another significant change is the improvement in the trust between the different agents in the forestry chain, and also the empowerment of the Consell Comarcal technical team in forest management. And another significant change is the great interest to produce high quality wood chip and reduce the impact of its combustion on air pollution. And last, the slight increase in demand for wood chip originating from the region forests. Let's now move to the learnings and replications that can be shared. The factors that have had the most influence on the success of this experience are, first of all, the leadership of personal commitment of the coordinator of this initiative from Consell Comarcal, the initial accompaniment to the investment in the boilers by the public administrations, the involvement of a multidisciplinary technical team that includes forest engineer, architect, industrial engineer, and biologist, and the interest in developing a bonus mechanism with benefits forest management, owners, and the environment. To conclude, talking about replication in other sides of this experience and this project, looking ahead, we think that it would be best to, first of all, facilitate the transferability of the project to mainly private forests. In second case, show that if steps are well done, it is possible to promote biomass in peri-urban environments with forests with concerns about air quality. In this sense, it is an exemplary experiment. Disseminate the detail of the different legal technical solutions developed by the Consell Comarcal, for example, the basis of the public's local service of biomass and the concession of that service. And also, it would be best to identify and mapping the critical areas for prevent foresting fires and establish the proportional bonus. This will make it possible to identify more clearly the forest owners who could be involved in the supply of biomass in the medium term. And last, to strengthen the communication about the project to citizens, the current users of these metropolitan forests. The logistics center is conceived as a pedagogic tool aimed at introducing this urban profile to the management of forest biomass. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carlos. We are really on time, so thank you all for this. This is really really good news. So, taking advantage of this timing, we can jump to the next presentation that will be from Mr. Antonio Salgueiro from the Agency for Integrated Rural Fire Management, and he will tell us about roots, about resin production and wildfire prevention, keeping in this passive prevention that we mentioned before. So, Mr. Salgueiro, please, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Just 1 minute, please, to try. Well, good morning to everyone. It's a pleasure to see some names from people I know, and we have been working together. Are you listening to me fine? It's okay?
Yes, it's okay. Thank you.
Perfect. And you already see my presentation? Not yet, maybe. That's okay now? That's
okay, thanks.
Fine. Well, I'm working now in the Agency for Integrated Rural Fire Management. It's a government agency. But before, I have been working in the enterprise Integrated Fire Management, it's called. And Conceição invited me to tell a little bit a story of initiative we made in this enterprise. I'm not now in this initiative, but fortunately, some other people are still doing this work. So talking about resin production and wildfire prevention. In the beginning, this enterprise GIF work in the strategic fuel management. We make planification for several hundred thousand of hectares in Portugal for strategic fire management for fire prevention. We make prescribed fires in pinus stands, eucalyptus, quercus stands, shrubs. So in some 1,000 hectares, we make training of prescribed burning. We have been very active in wildfire suppression activities with the Gulf teams, and we understand for make a very good prevention, wildfire prevention, we need to work with people. We need to have people working on forest, finding their sustainability, their value, and their jobs on forest ecosystems. So make some research about what we could make to improve some activities and what kind of activities can make this reinforcement of presence of people. We find resin exploitation. And why resin exploitation? I'm going to try to explain a little bit of story of resin in Portugal. We start the activity very early in the 90s, in the 18th initiation of a resin extraction organization in the National Forest in Leiria. After the first industry in Portugal in 1871, after a very great increase of resin and factories in the beginning of 20th century, the gaming school in Leiria National Forest in 26, in the installation of this gummy school is made inside the Forest Service. After the creation of National Board of Resin in the decades of 50s, 70s, an introduction of new techniques for resin exploitation, American French methods, we call it American, but really they starting in French, greatly increasing productivity. And after in the decades of 17, 18, Portugal is the first exporter of pitch and turpentine. Pitch and turpentine are derived from resin. In the 90 and 2000 decades, domain in Chinese markets and sharp fall in production in Portugal and in Europe in general. In Europe, it starts early in the 16, 17s. And now we are in the new period with the Brazilian domination of production with new concepts. And these new concepts are regarding particularly the genetic improvement. In Brazil, the activity was being started by industrial Portuguese people. They start with the productivities around 1.5 kg resin production per tree. And with this improving genetic improvement, this genetic selection, now they have about 4 kilos, 4.5 kilos per tree. So and this is a completely different way of working in resin extraction. They plant new stands, particularly to resin production, and secondary for woods, for other goals. So we are now at the dominance of Brazil, but we still have a very big industry capacity in Portugal for resin and the derivatives production of resin. Well, historic summary, main reasons of the decreased production in Portugal, decrease in resin price, you can see in the image on the right side, increase in salaries, that's a good. Implementation of new contracting and marketing rules, taxation, well, a lot of them. Entry into the European community, change of habits of the population, rural exodus, less people on forest areas, decrease importance of forest service and lack of alternatives. And after the increasing impact of forest fires. And this is one of the main reasons. Opportunity creating by the increasing instability of resin price insufficient to balance salaries increase and administrative costs, decrease of pinewood stands management to offset the risk associated with activity, wildfires. And that's this is what we have about the decreasing of forest areas occupied by Pinus pinaster. It's the main species for resin extraction in Portugal. And we can see the decreasing between the end of 16s, we have about 1,300,000 hectares. And now we have around in 2010, we have said 700,000 hectares. Now probably we have around in between 500,000 and 600. So more or less half of the area we have 50 years ago. Well, the problem, the problem of wildfires in particular coming from natural climate change, rural exodus, accumulation and continuity of fuels, less activities on rural areas, less agricultural lands, ineffective justice. This is a problem we have regarding the cause of the fires, lack of knowledge of reality and speciality forest fire, lack of strategies, inability and politicization of technical service and frequent changes, corporativism, disappearance of forestry and especially proximity interventions, participatory. That's a word we use with some frequency, participatory, that we need to have more participation in forest areas and forest decisions. We make a lot of plans. Plans do it frequently on urban environment, but we need to have more people implicated on the decisions in the local areas, in forest areas. Market price wood, or price of resin price even. In Portugal, the wooden price don't have a significant changes in the last 40, 50 years, and absence of lack of management. Solutions adopted, what we adopted for trying to make a best future for wildfires are particularly deferred and non-productive investments in prevention, many social and infrastructure protection, poor strategic management, but above an evaluation of effectiveness. It's not only in Portugal, it's more or less usual in Europe. And other awareness, education, training, associations, registrations, administrative constraints, and more. And in a way, they are reactive and non-productive investments in suppression strategies. Well, and now we have development of preventive productive activities that allow job creation, protection by the workers themselves, valorization of the areas for the local populations, protection by the populations, rural development, local financial flows, return on investment in the short, medium term, active presence, surveillance, rapid detection, and fast intervention, and knowledge, local knowledge about accessibilities, opportunities. And they are very important for support for suppression activities. And if we regard a little bit the resin activity, they have all of these characteristics. Organization activities that enable the creation of jobs for local people and continuous production and distribution of income. Local distribution, we are talking about a really circular way of working. The resin extraction, the first of this particularity for these goals are the creation and maintenance of jobs directly depends of the existence of forest areas and the intensity of the work in these areas. One person for 20 hectares daily for 6 or between 6 and 9 months, including and particularly in fire season, the most intense activity in forest standards. And why in fire season? Because we have a relationship, a straight relationship between the productivity of resin and the temperatures, and of course the activity of the trees. Recognition of the economic importance of the forest by rural local populations, salaries, fees, and in particular to the regularity. When we produce wood, the income of the wood comes to the at the end, at the moment of the exploitation. We can need to wait 30, 40, 50, 70 years. With the resin production, they have all the years, they have some incomes. And I don't show this here, but the incomes produced by resin activity are the same coming from the wood production. It means we can double the rentability of these stems working with resin extraction. Indirect fuel management, accessibility, trampling of the workers, first intervention against forest fire, proximity, the people are working in this forest on summer, sustainable production of intermediate and regular incomes, productive surveillance and protection against fires. Reducing risk, and we can do it integrating resin exploitation into forest and fire management, and reducing this way the risk of wildfires. We need to, and we will do it, training for fire detection and quickly fire suppression in first operations, first interventions, integration of fire detection structures. We are doing that now after some years of discussions, and giving light equipment for personal protection and fire suppression for first intervention. This means valuation of sustainable production of natural resins associated with rural development. And this is one of the examples. The social communication makes some publicity about the activity and the importance of this activity in local forest areas. With one hand, we extract the resin. With other hand, that's the title of the news. With the other hand, we can suppress the fire. Despite the use, I have a little problem here. Sorry. Can you see again? Okay.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Thank you. The society greater awareness and concern for ecology, the environment and sustainability, the Green Deal. So despite all of this importance, the price of natural resin derivatives are determined by the price of petroleum derivatives, fossil fuel of no sustainable extraction with no differentiation in the market. And that one, if we want to save this kind of very rural activity, we need to make a positive differentiation. So in a sustainable economy, a product with 8% investment in job creation and rural development will continue to be in direct competition with with price regulated by products of pulp industry. Pulp industry have a sub-product. It could be used to produce some resin derivatives, the same, by a non-sustainable oil exploitation. The production of natural resin should not be condemned to be a high risk financial and other activity and low yields for its importance in some rural areas, quality of product, and even environmental importance. To save the activity in Europe, mandatory need for positive differentiation of resin derivatives extracted from living trees, ecological sustainable activity and promoter of rural development in mountain areas, at least in Europe. Needs for the promotion of resin production, valorization, ecological and sustainable real green economy, positive differentiation with no sustainable products, industrial and commercial valorization. Who can do it? Industry, of course, markets, us, and we need the help to regulatory entities in European Union to approve some rules to make this positive differentiation. And that's all. The floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to you, Antonio. Nice to listen also to this solution, and keeping on mind that we are really with 2 minutes left, we can dedicate these 2 minutes to answer some questions, because given the fact that Mr. David Saez and Mr. Carlos Rodriguez need to leave us, we can answer some questions directed to them. If anybody wants to put their questions on the question and answer, is perfect. We have now one question. It's for David and Barbara. And the question is from Eduard Plana, and says, having into account the financial difficulties mentioned and having Montserrat as one clear beneficiary of the prevention done as a national park, do you see there's some opportunity of engaging them into the maintenance of the actions promoted with the LIFE project? Are they already on board from this perspective of we support this because you are protecting us? So David, Barbara, if you would like to answer it.
I could answer this. Well, he means the national park, right? Well, the natural park.
The natural park.
Okay. Well, in fact, they are implementing many forestry work. They mainly are paying us in species with work, and I think this last year They have been working, for example, with a buffer zone of one of our residential areas. They have been doing it all with no pay by them, and also they are doing it for private forest owners. In fact, they are implementing one of the pieces that was left unworked. David knows perfectly well of the strategic areas defined by firemen, and they are working on these places nowadays. But it's difficult that they pay us for doing a thing like this. They do it directly in cooperation with a municipality.
Yes, in fact, just a little some more things to add here. They were former partners of the Life Montserrat project, so they've been on board since many years ago. And in this after project stage, they are, as Barbara was saying, they are providing support in kinds in all kind of works required by the farmers themselves as well. They are providing clearings in areas where they need, helping with fenced enclosures, and providing all kind of support in this maintenance of the infrastructure. But as Barbara was saying, it's not possible for them to put money on this. So they can put they work efforts, but not the money. Maybe there are some other possibilities here. Well, we didn't have time to explain everything, but there's this new initiative around the rural park of Montserrat, with many of the municipalities that were engaged to the Life Montserrat project are now engaged in these new initiatives. And in this case, Diputació de Barcelona, which is a public agency with more financial capacity, they might be able to use or to provide technical support and financial support for these small farmers to organize and be able to keep on going. So there are good chances here, but we all have to work hard to make them real.
I can put also some more detail on this. In fact, the provincial government that David mentions, which is the Diputació de Barcelona, is paying this year, I think it was 150,000 euros on forestry work for the Forest Owners Association. And this is a direct payment they do, and also they do the following of the project implementation, of the forestry work implementation, and as David's imagined, but which is happening also the rural association, well, the Parc Rural de Montserrat, they also are investing. In fact, they are the ones who are paying the cutting room for this year, and also they have been paying for arrangements on forest trails to easy the work for the agriculture activities and also the livestock farms activities. So yes, they are paying directly. They are paying the actions directly, and they are also providing with technical advice and help. This is what I think I was putting the stress on the social network that has been created, and they are all playing their role in this part. But the good thing is that we are all now sharing a common storytelling, and that's all.
Okay, thank you. I think there is another. Don't leave away, David, Barbara. Don't leave quickly, because I think the next question is also for you. It's from Giuseppe Mariano De Loghi. I don't know if I'm saying this right. Sorry if I'm not. The question is how to involve, for example, people experts of communication as periodists, influencers. The question is if it's better to have a promotion by periodists for a large stakeholder audience, for example, citizens living in cities, etc., or it's better to promote these concepts into little communities, as in the example of Montserrat area.
Well, In fact, well, David maybe can answer this better than me because he has been involved in live projects since the beginning and is one of the technical supports. And he knows perfectly well all the communication, all the communication policy they follow. And also, I think, David, please mention all the work you've been doing with the schools, which I think it's really worth mentioning here.
Yes, from the live project, we had this set of actions directly thought to communicate the project, and we acted at both levels. Of course, it is necessary to have good communication of this kind of initiatives to the general population through presence in media like TV and or radio programs. We tried hard to be on the main news channels to have presence in the media, and the fires in fact are a good reason for them to follow the information, because people mostly in summertime they are really aware to this kind of news. But as Barbara was saying, the main efforts were placed on the local population. It was really important for us to really engage the local people on this management model we were proposing and implementing. So the communication efforts were focused on, for instance, the schools and the education community within the project area, with a very with a lot of efforts to work not only with the students but also with the whole community, with teachers, with families, parents, whatever, with the aim of really creating an awareness of the necessity of or the need of this kind of management model. With this idea that when the project disappears, I mean, the local people is the one that remains, and they have to be the ones who really believe in what is happening in their territory. So this is, I mean, the efforts were placed in this direction in this case.
From only, I would add, from a municipality point of view, we have been working to spread all the information. We've been with contact with David and the team to spread all the information of the Live Montserrat project since the beginning. We have communicated through social media and other means that we have for communicating to the population. And nowadays we are doing a campaign on. For that, before I said about the global strategy, maybe I didn't explain it properly. We are trying to gain knowledge of the land and give it to the citizens. And so we are organizing visits, guided visits to the places, to the different places in the municipality, and explaining all the projects so that people know what's going on the land. And also, I think that it's very important that for example, all the grazing activities we have been promoting around the buffer areas. At the beginning, they were not very welcome by the citizens, but nowadays they are really very well accepted.
Okay, thank you for your answers. I'm sorry that I need to shorten you, but it is important to have these answers from those who need to leave. Last question, and there are questions for Antonio Salgueiro and Luca Tonarelli, but we will leave for the final discussion. So don't worry, we keep them noted. But now the question is for Carles, who needs also to leave. And the question is, how was perceived the Boscos del Vallès project from population? is there a common conscience about the wildfire risk in the county? So please, Carlos, if you have an answer.
Yes, thank you for the questions and for the interest. First of all, I want to start with that we are working on environmental education plan, especially with Diputació de Barcelona and schools in our territory. And this education plan is about wildfire prevention and use of biomass, so it fits perfectly with our project. And I think that it will have a lot of interest and success, and it's a clue, a main goal to these European goals, and these environmental education plans are very, very important. Secondly, I think that this COVID situation and these regional lockdowns, for example, in our territory, in Vallès Occidental, that it's a peri-urban, well, a very populated region here in metropolitan Barcelona area. Now we have been seeing that a lot of people are going to have a walk to the nearby areas, or going to hikings, or this use of forests and natural areas. So I think that this could benefit projects like Forests of Vallès Occidental, and to implement more and more supplementary projects that feeds in the main goals. And in a result to this, we have been starting the Vallès Occidental forests start to be very popular, and we have been looking for next generation investment to amplify this biomass thing. And we have been pushing to connect, for example, two natural parks that surround us, that are Collserola and Sant Llorenç de Munt, with Via Verda del Vallès, that it's a project for the protection of free spaces and natural spaces in our territory. So I think that it's the time for these kind of green projects, and the people that have responsibilities, we have to be very, very concerned, and to combine population to come with us and in these projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carlos, for your answer. And thank you to try to condense all this information and proposals in short time. The pity is that we have not more time now. We have spent some of the break time here. So we will do now a coffee break now of 10 minutes, not 15, because if not, we will be late later. So we see you in 10 minutes, and I hope you have time to digest a little bit all these presentations. See you in 10 minutes. Hello again. I hope you are here also with us again. Sorry for the short break, but I think it's interesting to have time at the end to boost this discussion and this mix of ideas and questions and answers. Remember to turn off your cameras and microphone when speakers are on. And we continue with the session 3, that it's also about passive prevention, as the same topic as we have had previously of the break. And we will focus on synergic practices of mosaic landscapes and wildfire risk mitigation. The next presentation will be from Guillem Canaleta. Hello, Guillem, nice to have you here. And it's about Ramats de Foc, which is fire flocks, connecting shepherds with restaurants for wildfire prevention. Sorry, my Catalan has jumped here. Thank you very much. Welcome, and the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Laia. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. My name is Guillem Canaleta, and I work at Pau Costa Foundation, which is a non-profit organization working to improve the wildfire risk management across Europe and worldwide. And I think that the project that I'm about to present, Fire Flocks, is that was initially implemented in 2016. It's a very good example of the kind of work that we are currently doing. So to understand fire flocks, it is very important to know that we are, as a society, we are landscape eaters. So somehow through our diet, we can promote two kind of landscapes. We can promote abandoned, intensified landscapes. So homogeneous landscapes that we definitely do not want as a society. But also through our diet, we can promote mosaic landscapes that try to find an equilibrium between the different ecosystem services. So these are landscapes that are not fully oriented on food production, but they also try to foster many other ecosystem services like wildfire prevention, like biodiversity conservation, climate change adaptation, and among other ecosystem services. So at the end, Fire Flocks is about education. Through the project, we try to make people understand that there is a relationship between the food they buy and the landscape they see around their homes. And we try to make them understand that the consumption of extensive livestock products help to prevent wildfires around their homes. And another very important concept in Fire Flocks initiative is the cooperation of the different stakeholders involved. All of them have a very important role with more or less involvement. So all of them provide some value at the end of the production chain of the Fire Flocks products. And when I say stakeholders involved in Fire Flocks, I mean fire services, I mean shepherds, landowners, slaughterhouses, butcher, restaurants, and for sure the final customers, which is the final actor that helps to make extensive livestock sustainable, economically sustainable activity. So what do we do to run Fire Flocks? So in different words, the methodology that we use begins with the identification of strategic areas. This is done by the Wildfire Service here in Catalonia, and they identify strategic areas, which are areas that we know in advance that if well managed, we can have an advantage at the day of the ignition to change fire behavior. Then, together with the shepherds, once the strategic areas are identified, we plan what we call the prescribed grazing plan, which gives you the initial forest structure, the grazing processes that should be done, and the final forest structure that we want to prevent wildfires. Then the shepherd goes there with the animals, graze the area. There is the fuel reduction. And after that, we check that the full reduction has been successfully achieved. And after that, the shepherd is entitled to sell his products or her products to restaurants and butchers by using the Firefox label. Here, this one, Ramats de Foc in the original name in Catalan. So this is one of the most important parts of Firefox, the label, which helps to distinguish the products. And the other important part is the storytelling in restaurants and butchers, because we train waiters and butchers to tell their customers that the products that they are about to buy come from animals that have been grazing near the area. So by buying these products, you are helping yourself to prevent wildfires around your home. And this is a message that have had a very positive impact on the customers. So in the end, we give an added value to this product by telling these stories, and by using the label, we increase the consumption of this product, so the extensive grazing becomes more economically sustainable. And at the same time, for sure, we are enhancing wildfire risk management. Do you see my screen?
Yes, Guillem.
Oh, I lost my screen.
This happens.
Sorry.
We can see your screen with the small slides and the big one.
I'm sorry, because I cannot. I think I have some problems with my computer. Okay, you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes, we see it.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know what happened. I just had my screen got blacked. I don't know.
Now it works perfect, Guillem. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is the implementation area of the project. It's the Girona province in Girona, in the northeast border with Spain and France. Here in the green areas, you can see all the strategic areas identified. They are mainly here in the border because it's an area with a high occurrence of wildfires, last one in 2012. And here there is a metropolitan area of Girona and all the coastal zone that have a lot of tourism and wild and urban interface. And in red, you can see all the strategic areas that are currently managed by shepherds of Firefox, which is a little bit more than 600 hectares. And here a couple of images that of the strategic areas. You can see that fire services try to identify these areas by taking advantage of existing low full load areas like croplands or the road network. About the shepherds, we are currently 22 in the project, and they have a very diverse profiles. Some interesting data to show is that 25% of them are women and 75% are men. The age is also quite diverse, from 30 to 80 years old. And the most interesting thing here, I think, that is that half of them is new in this job. So they grow up in the city, and they decided to leave the city and go to live to the town, to a rural area, and learn on becoming a shepherd. They learned this job in shepherd school. Also the livestock, most of them graze with ovine livestock or goats or a mix of them. And this is due to the kind of vegetation that we have in the Girona province, and a couple of exploitations have been working with cows as well. And the size of the exploitation is also very variable, from 140 animals smaller one, and 1,700 animals, the larger one. And about the management, we do not say anything about that. I mean, we let shepherds decide. We only ask them that they must reach the objectives of the prescribed grazing plan that we have agreed together. About the selling points, we are currently 29. It's a mix between butchers and restaurants. And here in these pictures, you can see some of the different strategies that they are currently doing to engage the customers in the project. So, for example, in this one, you can see the storytelling part of the strategy, the postcards with summarize the project, the label, of course, which is to distinguish the project, which is one of the most important things of fire flogs, and also the innovative receipt and the restaurants are offering to the customers. Well, I said that this project was initially implemented in 2016, beginning of 17, and we have some lessons learned to share that we have seen during these last years. For example, the promotional material is highly valued to promote the philosophy of the product. So we have seen that the customer received very well the fact of having the label to distinguish the product. It's highly appreciated. We also saw that there is a high impact on sellings, at least during the pilot phase. We performed a study, and comparing the same phase of the year before fire flogs and the year after fire flogs, we saw that there was an increase of sellings of 13% from shepherds to butchers of the project, and 40% from shepherds to the restaurant. We also saw that there has been an improvement in the impression of customers and the butchers in the way of giving added value to their products. And another key indicator for us is that all the stakeholders that want to continue in the project. So this is great because it means that they are happy with the result and they see the project as a positive way. Otherwise, they would like to quit the project. One of the things that we had to face a year ago, 2 years ago, was that we were incrementing the stakeholders involved, so shepherds, restaurants, and butchers mainly, and we had to write some level standards. And this is very useful for us because anytime a shepherd or a butcher or a restaurant wants to join the project, we ask them to sign a letter saying, okay, I agree with this level of standards, and this way we avoid problems later. And some of the difficulties that we have encountered in these last years is land ownership. I'm not saying anything new. Here the land is most of the land is private, and apart from that, the land is split into multiple landowners, and that makes the management very difficult, particularly for the shepherds that do not come from a rural family, that do not have land to raise. We also have had problems with domestic dogs attacks. Some of the shepherds have suffered attacks and had important economic losses. And apart from that, that makes that other shepherds that see that do not want to graze certain areas that are that have a very high affluence of people, particularly during the weekend. The lack of strategic areas is also a key point. You know, fire flogs is working in wildfire strategic areas, and we receive emails from shepherds that want to join us. And sometimes we have to tell them that for the moment we cannot add them because they do not have any strategic area near them. It doesn't mean that it's not a strategic, the area. It just means that the area has not been identified in its place. And finally, another thing is the capacity to certificate full reduction, because we must ensure that all the products that are sold with the level of fire flood have been really contributing to reduce wildfire risk in strategic areas. And with that, I finish. I would like to briefly talk about project replication. We have seen, or we consider that fire floods have a very high potential of replication. The only thing that we need to know before implementing the project in another area is that each area has a political, social, and environmental context. So to translate the fire flood concept into these areas, we must consider that the context is different and the project will not implement it exactly the same. But we consider that the fact of grazing in strategic areas and then selling the product by using a label and storytelling can be perfectly transferable to other European regions. And the best example is Rebaños Mais that has been implemented in northern Portugal, Alto Tâmega, since last year. And yeah, they are currently grazing strategic areas like we do here in Catalonia, and they are selling the products with the Rebaños Mais label in their butchers and restaurants. And we as Pau Costa Foundation, we have been supporting them and giving advice by using the lessons learned here in Catalonia. And this is everything from my side. Thank you for the attention, and I'm sorry for the technical problems.
Don't worry, these things happen, don't worry. Thank you for your presentation. And now we jump into the last one of these presentation set the sessions. The presentation is about live granada, growing avian in Nepetín's Tuscany heathlands. Unfortunately, Miss Serena Correzola cannot be here today, so we are sorry for that, but we have Daniele Ascoli that will explain us. Davide, sorry. I'm reading and talking at the same time, and I'm woman, but not so evolved. So, Davide, sorry. This is your time, so the floor is yours. Thank you.
No worries. Good day, everybody. Can you see my presentation, and can you see me and hear me properly?
We can hear you and see you properly. Thank you.
Excellent. So I part of the Prevail project, but here I represent now the live granata. And so thank you for the invitation. And I think it's a very exciting morning. So we are hearing a lot of very interesting initiatives, let's say documented by the Prevail project. The live granata was one of these, and it's a live project started in 2017, and it will end on 2022. And it involves Dream Italia, which is the project leader, and several other partners. And the landscape in which we work is the Pratomagno landscape, right? So here we are in central Italy. So here, this is the Tuscany region, and we are in between a transitional zone between a temperate and Mediterranean climate. And here in red, you see the landscape fire we have. So we can have some relatively large fires for the Italian territory. And this is due because the landscape here is a mixture of many different fuel types, very flammable. So you see it's very homogeneous landscape made by grasslands and shrublands. But then you get to the top and you get also some forest, conifer forest. And you have a wildland-urban interface with, let's say, agriculture mixed with a flammable vegetation. And one of the major problems is that we have a high homogenization of this landscape. And this is due because in the past, this landscape was managed by many different types of activities. And nowadays, land abandonment has bring to this fuel buildup that support intense crown fire. In the past, there was a very important production of erica brooms, so bio brooms made by erica, flammable erica, and this economy supported the economy of many people in these inland areas, and there was a market through many Italian cities and also other countries like Germany and Switzerland. And so here, for example, you see this van on the bottom right. This is a van that in the 70s that is leaving to bring brooms to the Milano city. And so you might think that in the 70s, Milan was using 150,000 brooms by year. So there was an economy that allowed to manage this large landscape and make it, let's say, less flammable. But nowadays, these activities have been abandoned. And so you see landscape change. And another major problem is that we are losing the heathland habitat because of many processes of tree encroachment and evolvement of these ecological dynamics of these habitat. And so we are losing also remnants habitat 4030, that is the habitat needed for the conservation of many protected birds like Dartford warbler or Mantagus harrier. And so here is the, let's say, smart solution that the Life Granata project brings. So the Life Granata, we say that brings a wildfire prevention race to the cube, because it wants to maintain a landscape and maintain the habitat 4030 by mechanical treatment and prescribed burning treatment in strategic areas. But strategic here means both thinking about what is needed for fire prevention to reduce landscape flammability, but at the same time, what is needed to protect and maintain the habitat for the birds that are valued. And at the same time, what is needed to maintain a value chain of production of biobrooms. And so here we are trying to integrate all these ideas and to create, let's say, a system that is able to produce annually 40,000 brooms, and at the same time use prescribed burning within the training to fire use of the Regione Toscana training program that Luca Tonarelli before was explaining. And this will keep the habitat of the birds, but at the same time, all this will create the mosaic landscape that we need for fire risk mitigation in the area. So we have as well a plan like Veramazzi de Foc or the Life Montserrat before explained. So is a plan of areas to be treated in 5 years, about 172 hectares for, let's say, different dedicated goals. So for broom production, so these sites are more accessible. So the cost of a cutting is reduced. And then we have mechanical areas and areas treated with prescribed burning around 30 hectares. So these are the typical prescribed burn that we do in the area. Let's try to see how you see this. This video is a typical burn, one of the last burn we did in March. So these are relatively difficult burns for a system that is new to prescribed burning, like the Regione Toscana that started just in 2012, the prescribed burning program. But here we bring all the people throughout Tuscany and also from Italy to learn and train on fire use, and so to achieve a high technical level for prescribed burning. And the prescribed burns have a typical signature on the landscape. So we are interested in this particular mosaic that the prescribed burning creates. So they reduce the homogenization of a landscape, create islands, and we think this is giving the right habitat for birds to come back and establish in the area. At the same, and so with this program, we are really training hundreds of people throughout the region. And then we have a cultivation plan by hand cutting and mechanical cutting. So we are, let's say, trying to create, based on a business plan, let's say, a management that is sustainable under an economical aspect and also, of course, environmental aspects. So all these includes also Natura 2000 sites. So all this underwent authorization for what regards nature conservation regulation. But then we want to make a business, a little business, of course. And so what we are doing here is producing different type of products. The main one are the brooms, but also other side products have been started. And so the project is aiming to maintain a cooperative that will produce in several places throughout the Prato Magno area the brooms. And then we are in the process of stipulating commercial agreements to get to a production of 40,000 brooms by year that will maintain the management of the heathlands and at the same time the fuel management and wildfire prevention that is needed in the area. And here you can find more information on the website of the Life Granata. And these initiatives selected by the Prevail project, together to other initiatives from the Prevail project, were included in another LIFE project, the GoPro4, always led by Dream Italia, that is a European database of good practices. And so this is my last communication. So if you want to deepen this database, you will find all these initiatives that we are discussing here, let's say, documented. So for example, the GoPro4 created these WebGIS, and so you can go and look at the main initiatives that have been reported. So for example, here is the one of the Prato Magno. And so you get to the initiatives, and then you select the one, and so you go to a form where you find all the information, detailed information that is needed to fully understand what have been done at this site in terms of good practice for habitat conservation, but at the same time to achieve multiple goals like wildfire reduction. And that's all. This is what I wanted to tell you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Davide, and thank you to be ready at last minute for this presentation. This is a challenge, so we are really happy that you have catch it. So thank you again. And now we are at the end part of this workshop, and the most interesting, I think. All the presentation have been really interesting, but now we are addressing to the experts view and open discussion. So here we can boil all the ideas and all the things that we have been discussing during all the morning. Before beginning with the discussion and with the questions that have been made during the morning, and also that will I'm sure will appear here. We have Mr. Giorgio Majeras from Forest Directorate of Eastern Attica and Mr. Paulo Fernandez from Utah and Forest Wise Lab. Thank you to be here and really welcome to be here. They will give us some more ideas and will begin this open discussion. And when they finish, please open your cameras and we will begin. So Mr. Georgios, Mr. Paolo, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Hello from me. My name is Giorgos Majeras. I'm coming from Greece. I work for the local forest service in eastern part of Attica region. And actually, I'll try in this 5 minutes to pass you my experience according to forest fire prevention and what I've done all these years with limited resources. Since, as you probably know, that in Greece, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Since in Greece, as you probably know, well, this there's not a lack of resources, financial resources, but there is lack of policies that allow us to put more effort in the forest fire prevention than in forest fire. You are aware about that. We lost more than 100 people. We were expecting all these policies to be changed and to put more efforts in fire prevention. Unfortunately, nothing has changed, and we're still struggling with financial resources every year in order to do the very basics. For instance, to maintain the forest network, road network, and to do some things with forest fuel management. The problem is that because it's located to the problem that this, what I calling this the fire brigade lobby, maybe it's too harsh to say, that amount of the resources, the financial resources, goes to the forest fire suppression, and nothing, and only a small fraction of resources comes to forest fire prevention. We are trying to do our best every year, but since there's no willingness to change this, there's nothing much to expect in the long term. Well, maybe my presentation it's quite gloomy, but this is the situation what we are facing in our daily, at the local level. There is a side of hope this year. I hope that that we are trying to run this rural development program funded from the EU, and for the first time in the local level of the area where I work, we are trying to run this program, and I hope that by the end of the year we will be able to present our results, and we're trying to implement this big forest fuel management program, and in order to show that if the government and the policies can change, they give us the resources, we can change the situation. Otherwise, I don't think that the future will be as bright as it used to be very long time ago, because we have this problem that we are putting more efforts in the forest fire mechanism than the forest fire prevention mechanism. So I think that, well, I don't think that things will change. This is my my opinion, but at least we can, at least from my point of view, we will try to show that if we give us some money, some extra financial resources, we can present things and try to convince the local authorities that we can do better things as far as forest fire prevention
mechanism. So this is my small presentations. And if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Yes, Mr. Paolo, if you would like to continue with. Thank
Hello
you.
all. Good morning. First of all, thanks for the invitation. Well, what can I say in a few minutes? We have this huge challenge of increasing the resistance of our flammable landscapes to fire spread, and especially increase the resilience of these Mediterranean landscapes to fire. And we know more or less, or pretty much, what works. We all know that we need a mosaic in the landscape, because full continuity in the landscapes, it's what makes large fires under favorable weather. And so we mostly, or basically, we have two options. We can decide to manage fuels, or we can go for the conversion of land cover and land use. And both have their specificities and problems. Full treatments in landscapes by definition have a temporary effect, so we need to repeat them. These entails a permanent effort, permanent investment. More than that, it's never enough, at least in our context. And our context is the importance of private property. So we don't have like other countries where all these good examples come from, like Australia or in North America. We don't have huge landscapes managed by the government, or so basically our land is private, and this is a great obstacle to full treatments on the large enough scale. Regarding land use or land cover conversion, again, we have problems to do this because in our context, nowadays, we don't have enough people. There are requirements regarding climate and soil, and these requirements will get worse in the future. So it's always difficult to implement, and it needs time. So it's something that must be pursued over time, and it's really complicated. Of course, both these strategies should be used together, naturally. We know they work locally because nowadays we already have good examples that they work. So the main challenge is to expand these effects from local scale to the landscape, so to upscale the treatments. So all these efforts that we need to mitigate fire and adapt to fire, I see it essentially as a combination. So how to improve this, how to increase this? I see it mostly as a combination between policies, so top-down approaches and bottom-up approaches. And I think today we have seen good examples of these bottom-up approaches. But we need a political favorable environment. So we need politicians that understand these issues, that understand that we should move from the civil protection paradigm that mostly governs fire management in Europe. And so until we don't reach that level, all the rest that will follow will not be easy to improve, to increase. Regarding the bottom-up approaches, so to implement risk reduction, I think people must see opportunities to gain instead of losing. if they invest in risk reduction activities. And so we need to attract people and investment. And here I'm clearly not the best person to talk about these because I never thought too much about these issues, but I see opportunities, for example, in payment for ecosystem services in the future, both direct and indirect. But most of all, we should concentrate on activities that deliver at the same time an economic return for people and effective risk reduction. And again, I think today we saw some interesting examples of these activities. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much to both of you to try to boost this discussion. So now, if anybody wants to debate a little bit more about what has been said just for the moment, we can begin with that. Please remember to turn on your cameras, and those who have not speak yet, please, if you can say briefly your name and present yourself very, very short, only to know who are. Those who have to speak, it's not necessary. So we can begin commenting on the last two interventions, and after that we can address the questions if there's no comments on that. So please, we can begin when you like.
I don't know, Edward, if you want to break the ice, or shall I?
No, go ahead, Davide. Also, there are some questions on the chat
yes,
to be answered.
It's nice to have two people that want to break the ice. So.
No, I want just to build on what Paolo was saying. So these bottom-up and top-down sides to look at the problem, and what we observed in this inventory and survey of the initiative that we call the Smart Solution throughout Southern Europe was exactly this. So on one side, the idea, the smart idea, so how we can do that, how we can make our landscape less flammable and more resistant and resilient also socially, so having an economy that is able to maintain the landscape and maintain the social connection. But how we can support this idea using the top-down policies that Europe is providing to territories. So here we saw the use of RDP funds, so the Rural Development Programs. We see the LIFE program. We see other funds for innovation, so also funds that comes from, let's say, the Horizon strategy of Europe. So that one of the points that we recognized that organizing the use of these funds and policies is not so easy, and is start from the initiative of the people, so with this bottom-up approach. But it's very difficult to have like a general framework for the optimal use of all these sources that comes from European policies. They are somehow fragmented. Now we have the EU Green Deal, that is like the framework in which all these policies should converge to create a sustainable economy based on a green economy. And within this framework, we have wildfire prevention and creation of a resilient landscape. But we see the need for a more, let's say, structured use and organization of these funds, strategies, and policies.
Thank you, Davide. Eduard, you want to say something?
No. In fact, I mean, I think that it's better if all of us can switch on the camera first, as we are all participating in this kind of roundtable or discussion. So please, all the panelists. And also, I think that there are some questions in the chat pending or just addressed to the panelists. So maybe we can also follow the questions, and later on, if there is time, we can open the discussion.
Thank you, Eduard.
You're welcome.
There are some questions from the beginning. I will begin with those questions that have not been solved using the questions and answers, and then if we can recover the rest, we can address them. The first one is for Luca Tonarelli. It was for the final discussion, and the question is, if it's the area where you are conducting prescribed burns, populated or not so populated, and how people perceive the use of fires, if there are any conflicts, any difficulties, and so on.
The area near the training center is not very populated, and we had not particular problems except in the first part in the discussion with the techniques of the natural area. But we had many problems in other part of the region with ambientalists, with some people, and we are creating a communication plan to describe to the people, to the local population, to the newspaper, to the online newspaper, good communication to that kind of the use of fire. This topic in Tuscany is young because we use from 2012 to 2013. So in some place we had some problems. Yes, we are trying to make a good communication. I think this is a very important point about the use of fire.
Thank you, Luca. I think a good communication is not only useful in the use of fire, but also in all the processes of the civil protection phases, because having one idea and shared idea and well explained, it's a really key point. So thank you to answer to that. If anyone wants to add something, raise your hands, or because there is no raise your hand in this app, so can talk directly or whatever. If not, I jump to the next question, which is for Mr. Antonio Salgueiro. And the question is, Resin is an amazing solution, but how to maintain people by decades, 20, 30 years in rural areas until the Pinus pinaster will have conditions to Resin exploitation or other source of income, assuming about 75% of areas abandoned or affected by big fires in last years. So not enough trees with conditions to Resin exploitation. What will support the development of rural areas until they will return to be productive during all this time spent there?
I already.
It's a long question, sorry.
Yes, no problem. Well, it's better for me to read the answer I wrote. There is no one solution. We need to find a different solution and particularly integrate different solutions for each territory in functions of the particularities of each territory. In the first years of a stand, we need to put in place the traditional practice as fuel management, as silvicultural management. That's what we call the phase of investment. Fortunately, today, after between 15-20 years of a Pinus pinaster stand, we can already have some revenues by wood, but there are not enough to have activities for people from these 20 beginning years. So we need to put in place traditional solutions. Resin exploitation is one of the solutions when the conditions exist to put in place these practices, but it's not the one size fits solution. Thanks.
Thanks to you for your answer. We can jump to the next question that is from Mr. Ruiz Simoes. And the question is not directed to someone specifically, but I'm sure that someone could answer it. And it's understanding the smart solutions presented are generally opening the forest areas, which is very needed now. Shouldn't those solutions include also closed-down spaces, meaning that mature broadleaf native forest seems to be also important in terms of wildfire prevention?
If you like, I can try to give some input on that. I really thank this question because this also gives us the opportunity to explain that with this project, we basically, as was mentioned, we try to document some of the solutions. And of course, I know that there is in the debate and there is the possibility of also including this change of species, let's say, as a solution. So it's not already, for instance, we don't have any one documented on that sense, but this then doesn't mean that this is not in the scope of the project. So I will answer doing a question, and because I see also very suggestive both presentation from Giorgio and Paolo, sorry for the, but because you mentioned, you said in a very clear way this idea of having two scenarios, Paolo, about the reduction of fuels and how difficult it is to maintain this. And also you offer this idea of changing land covers. I understood right? And maybe it's linked with this question. I don't know if this debate is strong enough there. I mean, is now in the arena in Galicia, in Portugal, about changing the species for doing the landscape more resilient. Maybe you can also give some input on that.
Yeah, it's true. This is very often proposed by people in Portugal, especially people who don't have a forestry background. So people more from the side of environmental organizations, or like with a landscape architecture background, or biology or ecology, whatever, they are very much focused on this idea of having mature native forests as a part of the solution. And I agree to some extent. The problem, as I mentioned briefly, is the difficulty in attaining these, because it needs time, soil, and climate, and willingness of the owners of the land, because this is like a process where you put aside these parts of your land to grow, to wait for a mature forest, but at the same time you have to protect it from fire. So you have to invest all the time until, so you need 20 years, 40, 50 years to achieve that level of a more resistant forest to fire spread. And so it's not really a practical solution on the time scale that we are working with. And it's not favored by climate change, because the studies that exist, for example, for Portugal, I don't know for other countries, but for Portugal show that these deciduous broadleaf forest types native will be very much restricted in the future. So in maybe 30, 40 years, the potential land to have trees like chestnuts or deciduous oaks in Portugal will be cut by half or more. So this is, it really doesn't look like something that we will be expecting to work, simply because it will be impossible to achieve on the enough spatial scale.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if someone wants to add something to it. We have a reflection in the question and answers that from Mr. Pigard. I saw that Mr. Georgios Maheras was trying to answer him or her. I don't know if you would like to answer it using the floor, or you would like to, the question or the reflection is that it's true that fuel management require repetitive actions, but this is not a serious problem. Nowadays, by use of remote sensing, machine learning, says it is possible to predict the vegetation growth and change in land covers and estimate the next action date. I don't know if Mr. Maheras, you would like to answer it. I saw you writing down, so I'm not sure if you would like to answer it virtually or using this discussion. A yes or a no, it's enough for me.
As I told you, we are, for the first time after many years, we will run this program. So with forest fires, with forest fuel management. So of course you need to this requires, you know, to act again in through 2 or 3 years. The point is, as I told you before, we have good ideas. You also gave us very good ideas. The point, as I told you in Greece, is that we are still lacking of policies. This is policies still, the governmental policies more based on a forest fire suppression than forest fire prevention. That's the problem. So we are, as I told you, is our unique opportunities this year, where we are going to run this rural development program to show that give us money, and we're trying to do our best, and to show that with less money we can have better results in dealing with forest fire in Greece. That's the idea now, to convince the government that if we have the resources, we can do a better job instead of spending money to the forest fire mechanism. This is our main problem in Greece. Probably in Portugal, I don't know if you have the same problem. I mean, the policies, that's the main problem. Have to change this, what is happening now, to spend money to have this very expensive forest fire mechanism with poor results.
Well, in Portugal now, the political environment since 2017 is very favorable for full reduction. And so we have a national prescribed fire plan, among other things. We have the government is promising lots of money for prevention. And so now the budget, our budget, has more money for prevention than for firefighting. Theoretically, I'm not sure if it will be like that. But regarding that question about the remote sensing, well, of course, it's a useful technique or method to find out where to do the full reduction in the next times. But the issue is not really that. Of course, we need to have ways to know to do spatial and temporal planning or full management. The problem is the effort. So we need to treat, based on the examples from other countries, we need to treat between 5 and 10% of the landscape every year to be effective, to be able to reduce large fire size and area burned and so on. And so on the local scale, maybe this is not that much. We can, for example, in Portugal, with prescribed burning, for example, at a scale of a small basin like 5,000 to 10,000 hectares, we can do this with prescribed fire. It's not difficult, and we can maintain it. The problem is that we need the resources to do it, not just at these local landscapes, but on a much wider scale, and that will always be impossible. So nowadays in Portugal, we have good local examples of mainly regarding prescribed burning, but they are just that, they are local. And it's the same, maybe it's better for France, but it's the same in Spain, I suppose. And so that it's really the big obstacle. Even when we have, like in Portugal, a governmental prescribed fire plan, which says that nowadays the target for prescribed fire in Portugal, annual treatment, it's about 20,000 hectares and to be increased to 50,000 hectares. But we are only doing 4,000 hectares. So we need to do 10 times more, and we don't have the people. Maybe we can have the money, the budget, but we don't have the people in terms of training, and because people that work with in fire management, they work in many other things, not just prescribed burning. So it's very difficult to have a dedicated labor force for prescribed burning. And this, I'm talking about prescribed burning, but this is valid for thinning or grazing or whatever other full treatment method that you can think about.
Yes, Davide, please.
Yeah, well, I have a question for Guillem Canaleta, because I think one of the smartest things we documented in Prevail was the Ramaz de Foc initiatives and their approach to the product. So being able to create a market, but also a brand. And you were talking about certification at a certain point in your presentation. So could you expand a bit this concept and how it can apply to fire prevention?
Yeah, thank you. As I mentioned, once the strategic area is identified, there is a process of writing or agreeing with the shepherd a prescribed grazing plan, what we call a prescribed grazing plan, where the result that we want to achieve is there. Mainly, we say that the shepherd needs to achieve a fuel herbaceous layer reduction of 90% of the annual growth and 65% of the annual growth of the shrub layer. Okay, and that's what we based on. And then there is the certification process. There is a table, a very simple table, one for each layer for the herbaceous and the shrub, and just having some sampling points in the plot. The forest engineer check by just looking the fuel reduction.
This is done within like a larger certification program like FSC or PFFC, or is it just local initiatives? And do you plan to have like, let's say, a contact maybe with larger certification programs?
Well, the project, I didn't mention that, but the project is linked to the agriculture department of Catalonia. And the department just every year have some economic aids for shepherds that graze strategic areas, so that they just check every year that the shepherds are doing the job agreed in the prescribed grazing plan. So yeah, we are already linked with the public administration in that sense.
Okay, thank you for your contributions. I think that somewhere I have so many screens open, so I don't know in which place I have seen it. But I think that there was a question about how, having into account the strategic areas, it's also for you, Guillem. I'm taking advantage that you are with the microphone open. Having into account that strategic areas may be a limitation, if it could be extended the level to grazing in forest land independently of the strategicness, or if this makes sense to you or not, and what's your opinion about it?
Yeah, that's a key question, and I'm afraid that I will not be able to answer you right now. Yeah, this is a thing that we must discuss internally in the project, because we have these two options. We have the first option, which is keep fitting the project into the grazing into key strategic areas, so that this way the project would be very restrictive in terms of including new shepherds. And the other way is to, and considering that in the end, all the shepherds that are doing extensive grazing are in fact reducing full loads, so they are helping to reduce wildfire risk, is to have two levels of shepherds in the project, which would be the ones that graze strategic areas and the ones that do not graze strategic areas but are actually reducing fuel. And definitely this is something that we need to talk internally in the project.
Thanks, Guillem. I don't know if someone wants to add something before last interventions. I would say that we would ask you 10 minutes more. I know that we are late, but we would like to finish this discussion and then to have the conclusions and closing, not more far than a quarter to 2, but just these minutes more. So if anyone wants to say something more, to add something. I think there was a specific question for Davide, that it was which Erica species were used for the brooms.
Yeah, it's a very technical one. And so it's Erica scoparia, from the name scopa in Latin, and then in Italian it means broom. And so Erica scoparia, and then we had a mixture with multiflora and arborea sometimes.
Thank you. I like these questions. Short questions, short answer. Is really good. So if anyone wants to add something, comment something else, I think that all the topics and presentations would give us time to explain and to expand to the infinite and beyond. But I'm sorry, we have short time. So if any of you wants to say something briefly or add something more.
Very short, Laia, because also there is a question of Katerina in the chat that is quite relevant. That is, she's saying that relating to the issue analyzed, is there any pattern to know how, under what terms and ways can social enterprise assist fire prevention in forested areas? Of course, I'm referring at local extent. And I would like to make the link, and maybe can answer also some of the panelists, but about what was mentioned. I mean, I think was very important today, having the approach of this local dimension of the issues. So I think that what you propose, Paolo, this mix of solutions, bottom up, top down, it's very nice having Barbara as a mayor, also Georgios as a local forest service. So how these policies, if once they are there, and now we have I think we have a very good European context with the Green Deal, bioeconomy strategy, forestry strategy, climate change strategies, but sometimes those to arrive at local level makes a lot of difficulties. And I love from the contribution from this local perspective, how stakeholders engagement is crucial how imagination, let's say, and I don't know if someone can share some experience in terms of what Katerina is asking about the social enterprises involved in fire prevention, or there is maybe, if not, we can also explain something from Catalonia, but maybe someone wants to share.
I tell you something, to stress you something, that you want me to say something?
Please.
Last year, for example, as a local forest service, we got 30,000 euros for forest fire prevention. At the same time, the local municipality got 120,000 euros. And if you want to ask me what happened to all this money, I mean, all the money that went to the municipality, since we are many Italians there, you can see probably if you see the movie L'Ora Legale, and where the money that went to the municipality. We're still trying to find where all this money gone. I mean, to maintain the road, the forest network. I mean, to maintain the basic facilities for the fire brigade. So probably this is an answer to the problem we are facing at the local level. The problem we are facing.
I think that we have not listened the last words from you. Sorry.
Sorry.
But
okay. What I wanted to say is that we have the funds. We are getting money from the state, and as a local forest service, we are getting around 30,000 euros per year to deal with the forest fire prevention. At the same time, the local municipality gets more than 1,000 euros. 100,000 euros for the same scope. And at the end of the year, we're trying to find out where all this money gone. I mean, and the answer to what the municipality is doing for the forest fire prevention is, if you see this, there's a nice movie, Italian movie, L'Ora Legale, which say how monies are spent at the local, at the municipality level. We're trying to cooperate with this municipality to say, okay, we have this money, to sit down and to work together, to reduce the forest fires risk, and we get no answer. So every year we have this small amount of money, around 20,000 euros, and we have to maintain the fuel breaks, to maintain the forest network, the road network, with minimum resources. So the point is, if the idea is, if we get more resources, we can do better things. But as I told you before, the main governmental policy is to give less money to the forest service, more money to the municipalities, and the result is catastrophic forest fires in the area. Did you hear what I said?
Yes, perfectly.
Now perfect. Thank you.
It's very clear. I think that it's plenty of situations around, and of course, proper cooperation and coordination between not only policies but also institutions. It's part of facing the challenge of so limited resources and so huge needs. So, thank you.
So we have 5 minutes left. Yes, Barbara. I was thinking about you when I was listening about the resources of local, but I was waiting. So, thank you, Barbara. The floor is yours.
Last year, we spent nearly 65,000 euros arranging forest trails. Is that the word? Forest trail? They understand? Yeah, because I have no technical background here. And well, our sources, they come mainly from the provincial government, which is Diputació de Barcelona, they have a plan, a quadrennial plan, which we have to implement yearly. And they give us money each year, and it's not only they give it, they check it afterwards. So, well, I think that maybe, Georgios, I guess that that before, well, I think that it's just a matter of public policy control. And in here in Spain, well, in fact, in Catalonia, I can say for sure that it's very well implemented and safe for the where the public expenditure goes. And also we had well, we have different resources. We have from the provincial government, and also we have from the autonomous community of Catalonia government. Also, we have some extra strategical for investment for forestry. It's more, I would say, for what they call it. They call it sustainable investment. And well, it's quite structured, and there's you don't really have much opportunities to waste it in other means. I think that it's a good example of good management, public management here.
Thank you, Barbara, for your comments on that. And for the moment, this is the end. I'm really sorry, because I'm sure that if the situation were different, more time and a face-to-face meeting, this will be really different, because I have the feeling that there are a lot of you that have a lot to say, and we have not had so much time. So I hope someday we'll have more time to discuss all about it. But for the moment, we need to finish and let it to this point today. So thank you, all of you. Thank you for your presentations. And I don't have nothing else to say than to give the floor to Anna Barbati to finish the workshop. And thank you all for your patience and intervention. Thank you. Anna, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Laia, also for your work on moderation. And thank you to all the panelists and the people that were attending our workshop. I will try just to fix some thoughts about what we learned today. I think that we had very good example of how the community is working and how we can learn from this torch bearer experience. I think we had positive feedback from this. We learned that it's possible to find locally synergy between provincial, regional, and European funds. There are examples there. And that a creative way to promoting the use of forests, agriculture, and grazing products set in motion local economy. We have labels, marketing, and I was surprised and happy to learn that this project create this kind of social ecosystem around the activity. So if this is something that is stable, we can feel optimist about the maintenance of this activity, even beyond the life of the funding schemes, if we are able to create this bioeconomy around them. And I think that some smart solution gave us also the opportunity to dispel some false myths between biodiversity conservation and fuel management, as in the example of the Granada project, but there are many other examples we found also in our exploration of smart solution, as well as in the case on the Tuscany region experience of training, that we can create forces by keeping the landscape maintained by full management, by training the people. So I think we got very nice input on how to replicate similar experience. But we also learn about barriers that we already know, but we explore better at the local level. And I would like to quote a consideration from Ignacio Martinez de Arano of the European Forest Institute, who says that we can design smart landscape, but we don't still have the governance structure and economic engines to make them happen. And I think that this is something that needs to be improved. So the level of governance can be improved also in terms of the use of fund, or rethinking, redesigning the use of fund of public resources that are available. And our experience in Prevail with the exchange with experts of Rural Development Fund, for instance, suggested that one possibility can be to open multi-measure calls that can integrate within Rural Development Funds active and passive prevention, as we have seen example here. So to create a local boost around a project that can mobilize resources from different actors with a proper funding. And in this perspective, I think that we need a greater capacity of policy dialogue, something that is already been raised also by Paolo, and coordination between public administration to establish these synergies. So to make people speaking one each other in different offices in a better way, as we have done in the past. We have now the era of the Green Deal. We hope that this strategy at European level, in which also the bioeconomy strategy is embedded, can help us as a political engine. So we will see it if this say positive momentum also from the political side will help us. And so I think that we got very inspiring suggestion from the reality. We need to work still a lot to create this integration, and the role of our project is first to make this thing known by the expert, by the stakeholders. So please use the platform, the Granata project, the Lessons on Fire platform, to learn more and to also suggest us other experiences. And that's almost all from my side. I hope that you have enjoyed this workshop. And I would like also to invite you to the next event, the last public event of the Prevail project that will be held next week. You will find info on the website. Just let me share. So if you go on the website, you can find the program of the conference and you can register for it. And so that's all from my side. And I thanks all the people who contributed to this very interesting and inspiring workshop. Bye-bye.
Thank you to all. And
Bye.
Thanks to all the panelists for the participation.
Ciao a tutti.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao a tutti, grazie.
Grazie.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye to all. Bye-bye.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, if I'm not wrong, we are alone again.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, we are not all the panelists here, I think. No, Davide is missing, also Luca, also Edward.
Most of them.
Yes. But in any case, I'm talking with Edward to, if it's possible to enter another time. And I can write also to Davide by WhatsApp.
Eduard is trying to reconnect. If not, he comes here.
Yeah, sorry, I blocked the webinar. So now he can reconnect again.
Cannot reconnect. Okay. He's in.
Yeah, he is in fact.
Hola, hola.
Hola.
Eduard.
And also Barbara is missing, but I don't have telephone contact.
Well, I think that being so late, just is quite late, so we finish some minutes late. I'm not sure if it's necessary to try ask her to reconnect. I don't think so. It's very busy.
Well, I have wrote to Davide only, and that's all.
And Anna, are you there? Yeah.
Yes. I've also sent a message to Davide, but maybe.
Okay. So was a small misunderstanding between us because I should, let's say, make some kind of technical conclusions before you, Anna.
Sorry.
No, maybe.
No,
I mean,
it was my fault, Anna.
Misunderstanding
Okay. I thought that it was
between
the
us
ending,
here.
and I give you the floor. Sorry. Well, not sorry. It was supposed to give you the floor.
No, sure.
After Eduard. Sorry.
Well, these things happen in direct, and at least these online events are always more difficult to make. Well, to improvise or just to readapt the situation. But in any case, was fine. I think that comes very interesting in terms of contents. There is always from my side, I always see the same, that if you put more than 3 hours, maybe it's difficult for people, but at the same time, today seems that 3 hours runs very fast. So in terms of that was, I think that really high quality of presentations, and the level of interaction with the audience also very good, having a lot of questions and so on.
And I will contact all the panelists by email to ask it for their presentations, to host it on the project website. If Guillem, well, Anna, Eduard, if you can send me your presentation also, perfect. Thank you.
Does someone of you knows who was Katerina, who was asking about for the contacts of the panelists?
No.
No? Okay.
No, but Eduard, we have the registration of all the questions and answers and all the emails of the people. So we can easily share with you this information in case you want to contact her. And
yeah, just to know.
Probably in the email you have her corporation, you know.
No. She was very. I mean, she was asking. I answered her that the contacts will be with the presentations hosted in the website, and she was perfect, Edward. but basically it's just to know, because I don't know if finally Anna, someone from DG Eco was participating in the workshop.
I think no. I've checked the list, but
okay. Laia, there is something to comment here, or
from my side?
You are tired for sure.
No, I need a little bit more practice to do these things. I'm sorry about that, because I'm not doing these things and I'm new in the project. So sorry. And sorry again for not giving you space at the end, Edward. But it really, it's a pity to not have more time to listen to all this final part, because I think that sometimes presentations, you can go to websites, you can address panelists somehow, but all this discussion that it's really, really difficult to do when you are virtually, you are not side by side, is the part that for me is most interesting. And I have questions noted here, but I have not done it. And I suppose that all of you have more questions, and I suppose that people that have come have them. So I'm not sure which is the solution for this sort of events, but it's a pity not to have time to share these things and to keep eyes on the other side to catch the answers and to catch the feeling around. But apart from that, nothing else. I suppose that when we find with this new normality, we will recover a more fluent way to discuss these things that are really interesting, in fact.
Sorry, I think Davide is trying to be here, but it's blocked.
Yeah, tell him that he can enter now.
Yeah, happening the same to me.
I'm sorry, yeah.
I think Giorgio is also here now. Giorgio Majeras.
Yes.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Really thanks to your contribution, because you have much more difficulties without PowerPoint. It's much more like, okay, I'm here.
I was ready to make a PowerPoint, but you said me
no, exactly.
instruction not to make one.
Exactly.
So maybe some other time.
Just I was reflecting that your role was more difficult than others, and really thanks for your participation, and also have the representative of Greek. I mean the Greek representative, because at least is one of the partners in the project. But
you have Mr. Xanthopoulos, which is an expert. So
yes, and very important, your reflections, very practical, and I think this is an important component from this theory to practice, that things that should happen but at the end are not happening. So this project is very important for all of us as a risk community and forest community, because I try to reflect this in my presentation. Anna, we mentioned that also in the webinar, that this is a project really funded by the European Commission, but from the civil protection sphere. And it's an opportunity also for us as a project to send that message that you mentioned, George, about the more need for prevention and just at least more need or the same need than response. So we have this change. It's true that, Anna, in the webinar, the feedback we had from the officers from DG Eco was very positive. They were very happy with the results and the explanations, and I hope this also in the final conference will be reflected. And was one of my comments is that when we are listening between us, because we are inside the movie, we are the actors, let's say, we know perfectly what we are talking about. Sometimes it's easy to put attention in what is not working. You know, it's typically when we finalize the conclusions. But if you try to listen us as an external actor, it's amazing. Today was a kind of, you know, in short time to see so many experience, so many motivating, and so many creative. And I think that linked with the storyline someone mentioned, linked with the need of more communication, the role of journalists, and of course, Pau Costa is doing this work, is part of the mission of the foundation. But I think that we have a very nice history to explain. So I hope that the collaboration that the DG ECO asked us, you remember, Anna, in the webinar that they by email, etc., saying this is very suggestive, you could do a presentation on that here in Brussels or something like that. I think that we don't have to lose this and take this opportunity really serious, because it's things that are obvious for us, but sometimes those who are not so familiar with these concepts are not fully aware about the potential of doing risk through landscaping or land management. Yeah. Just to share with you some of the reflections that I wanted to share with participants before, that are really fresh now in my mind. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if there is any feedback from someone. I hope, Giorgio, you enjoy the workshop and also take some lessons for you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you to you
for the invitation. Though I prefer, you know, I wish the next time we had these Zoom meetings.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
But
okay.
Okay.
So
great. Thank you.
Many thanks, Mariona and Celia, for all the hard, typical gray work behind things happens. But was very, very, very useful, your help. And I think that also it's a good change for the foundation to be in this kind of effect.
Yeah, and also in terms
of kind of win-win, you know.
Yeah, sure. And in terms of participation, I think that we had kind of 60 people attending at the same time.
Yeah.
This means that probably the numbers are higher because some people, they connect, they disconnect, but I will share with you all this information. I think that it's quite successful because now people is quite tired of webinars and online meetings. So having these numbers is good for the project, and for sure for make these solutions visible, which is the main objective.
Yeah, and the webinar was quite recent, and the final conference is also next week. So we as a Prevail are stressing a lot our potential audience. very
we are
nice
stalkers,
friends.
Edward. We are stalkers during the edit.
But we have very nice friends that are, you know, very every time with us, and I love Giuseppe, De Golu, and people like that are always there.
Giuseppe
and Alex.
Giuseppe is retired.
As time.
Which means that he has a lot of things to do. So if he chooses still keep with fire questions,
That's
it's
true.
really motivating.
He's a good friend. This means he's a very good friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you to all. I don't know if there is nothing else to share. Davide, something from your side?
No, it was very interesting. We recorded everything, and I think it will be very useful also for the paper. Because here we are structuring the ideas are formulated each time in a different way, so we are the chance to put together all these ideas. For example, what Anna said in the end, I think it's very good for the conclusion of the paper, so it's good.
Exactly. I also take some notes thinking in the paper. Yeah. Okay. So keep safe and enjoy your Mediterranean spring.
Yeah.
You too.
Ciao, ciao.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
See you. Thanks.
Celia. No te oigo, porque estás en mute.
Ahora.
Espera, voy a parar la grabación, ¿no? Paro la grabación.
Sí.